at this gauge here, I am just over 225. So I'm about 226 or so. So I'm a little bit low, not a lot. Hi everyone, welcome to Tigner Adventures. We are currently in Warner Robins, Georgia, where it is dang hot. Today is supposed to be 100, tomorrow is 104, and so we want to do a little bit of maintenance on our mini split to make sure that it is ready and can take care of us during this nice hot time. And so today I'm going to be talking about some of the maintenance, give you a few maintenance tips. Also, we're going to check the pressure on our Freon because when we originally installed this, it came with a 16-foot line, and it says you can use this, you know, it came with gas in it already, so you can use this up to 25 feet. Then I started digging in the book a little bit further, and I found that it said if you do go to a 25-foot piece of tubing, which is the length that we put in, then you should add this much more Freon. And so it's like, you know, so the sales piece of it, you know, didn't quite match what the actual book said. So anyway, so we're going to actually fix that today and get the unit working to peak condition. So anyway, so the first thing we got to do is when you're using your mini split, you have to change, or not change, but clean the filters regularly, just like any other AC unit. In your house, you have big filters that you have to actually physically change. In the mini split, you just have a screen that you have to take out. So to do that, we're going to open it up, which is just you pull on the sides right here, and it just lifts up. The unit is off right now. And it has these two screens that are in here, and these screens, you know, collect any of the dust and particles in the air and things like that. I did buy this add-on for our mini split that's from CeeLo, and it actually allows us to manage our mini split from anywhere, which is really nice. But it also has a maintenance piece inside of it, so it's the thing that's telling me when the filter needs to be fixed or cleaned. And so I've got that notification. So to clean the filter, all I do is I just lift up these tabs right here, and this comes out. And so you probably can't tell, I'm not sure that you're going to really be able to see how much dirt is on this, but maybe if I put it this way and you're, I don't know. Anyway, it's got a lot of dirt in there, and all you do is you just stick it under the faucet and you just wash it off. So that's what we're going to do, and then we'll knock off all the water, and then we'll put it back up into the unit again. Well, those look pretty clean now. There's still a little bit of water on the actual screens, so I'm going to let those sit here and dry off a little bit before we actually put them back into the mini split. All right, so it's all nice and dry. So I'm going to put this back in. I think you can see right here, it's got some little tabs on this side of it. It curves in here, which is, you know, it's just naturally curved, so it's hard to get that wrong. But these tabs are actually on the bottom. So now if we zoom up into here, you can see that there's a little groove that this actually goes into. And this is the actual grill, I guess, you know, the actual air conditioning unit itself. And so you can tell when they this was like that when I got it from the factory. So these little fins here, it doesn't take much to touch them, and they kind of smash down really easy. So you want to make sure as you're putting this back in that you are not doing that. And so I'm just going to put that in the groove and then just slide it up in there, and it just kind of locks into its little place right here, just like that, and it's all in place. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. All right, so those are in. Everything's good. I don't see anything I really got to pay attention to too much right here. So I'm going to close the lid, snap that back down. All right, so this is done. This is nice and clean. Now I want to go out and I actually want to check the actual outside unit to see if it's dirty and needs to be cleaned also. Okay, we are looking at the back side of the AC unit here, and you can see, I can see right through these fins. So everything looks really good as far as the unit itself is concerned. And there is a little bit of dust, not really much, really anything on the fan, so the fan's looking really good too. So as far as the unit, outside unit here, it actually looks really good. So not going to worry about anything there, but you want to actually kind of just check that out as far as, you know, part of your maintenance schedule. Now, at least probably once a year, you should be at least spraying it out, getting it actually cleaned. There's this stuff right here. It's HVAC coil cleaner. It's just a foam. You spray it all on it and everything. You let it sit for about, they say 5 to 10 minutes, and then you just take a hose and just wash it off. And when you actually spray that on it, we did this on our son-in-law's actually home air conditioner, and it just foams up and it's all black, and I mean, it's just, you can see it just foaming all this dirt off the actual coils there, and the fins, cleaning them out, and then you just take a water hose and just kind of go over it. You don't want to spray on it because those fins are very delicate, so you just kind of take the water and go over it and everything, and it will just wash off all that dust and dirt and stuff that actually probably will collect over the time. So at least once a year it says to do that, so good tip there. So the other thing that's important to look at is your drain line from your head unit that's inside. This is how the water's getting outside. So you can see here I've got a steady flow of water that's taking the humidity out of the air in the unit and putting it and draining it out here. So if that gets clogged, then it's going to overflow and start leaking inside, and you don't want that. So it's always important to keep that nice and clean and clear from any obstructions. All right, so the last thing we're going to do today is we're going to check the level of our Freon refrigerant inside of our mini split. You should do this at least once a year anyway, but like I said at the beginning of the video, I did put a little bit longer line on here, so I know that it's probably going to be a little low and I need to add some to it. So that's what we're going to check today. I'll show you, kind of explain what I have. So this is, there's two different things that you need if you want to put Freon into your system. You got to have your gauges and you have to have Freon. So let's talk about the gauges really quick. First, the gauges are made up into a low side and high side. In our particular case, we're not going to use the high side of the gauge, and so we'll just have this laying to the side here. The yellow one here is the one that hooks to the Freon tank, so that's that one, and then the blue one here actually hooks to that actual mini split. Now, when you buy these gauges, sometimes they'll automatically include the adapter for the mini split, but if you don't, if it doesn't, normal house AC gauges do not have the right size fitting here. So you need this little adapter because the fitting on the mini split is a little bit bigger. And so in this case, we have the adapter with it. So this is all set, so I don't have to dig out my adapter that I used initially. But you just need to pay attention to that when you're doing the gauges. So now if you look inside the side of this mini split right here, you can see that this is where the service port is. And right now all it has on there is a cap. So I'll just undo that cap and then I'll hook this blue one up to that point, and that will show us what our pressure is. Now our unit's off right now, and that's how we want to start. Okay, we want to see what the pressure is before we start. Now over here I have Freon, and in this particular case you can see that this is 410A Freon. The old style was R22. They don't use that anymore, and or you especially have to be licensed to have that, or even to get it if you need to use it in an old system. but this is the new stuff. This is how the new systems are, and that's what most mini splits have in it. But it's really good to check with your manufacturer as to what they actually use in that actual system. So okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to get our service line hooked up to our tank, or our inlet line here. And so I want to make sure that these gauges are off, okay, and that this little bleed valve is closed. And I'm going to hook this up to the tank, and then I'm going to turn the tank upside down, and it's going to actually sit on this upside down with the valve open on the tank. All right, so that is open and it's pressurized to this point. Now I need to hook this one up to the unit inside there. And so I'm going to use a little adjustable wrench just to loosen that up just a little bit. Like I said, it's not very tight. Okay, it's just a cap is all it is. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Now, this has a little Schrader valve inside here. It's kind of like what you have on a valve stem of a tire. So when I push this in there, it's gonna, this little Schrader valve, or this little valve here, is gonna push against the Schrader valve that's in the actual unit, which is like the valve stem on your tube. So you're gonna hear a little bit of air come out. So we're gonna lose a little bit as I actually put this on. So the first thing we want to look at once that is connected is we want to look at the pressure that's on there with the unit off. So currently just sitting there, this is the standing pressure, and based on this chart that I got from the manufacturer, we want to check what this chart is saying, which it's currently 80 degrees. So if I look at this chart for 80 degrees, I should be at 235 about pressure. And when I look at this gauge here, I am just over 225. So I'm about 226 or so. So I'm a little bit low, not a lot, but I am low. So that's the first thing I want to look at. And then now we're going to go ahead and turn the unit on, and then we'll let that run for a little while and settle the pressure down, because it will drop down and it will move up and down, and we want to figure out the point where it's about where it's at. And then we'll look at the other chart and see what that pressure should be. Okay, so I have turned the air conditioner on. So as this ramps up, you can see that the pressure on the gauge is now dropping. So we want to let this sit for a while. It's going to run, it's going to fluctuate back and forth, but we want to see what this final low pressure is. So if we look at this chart from the factory, it says that if the room temperature is about 80, in this case 80, and it's 80 outside, then we should be roughly about 139. Okay, that looks like it's balanced out. It is about 134 is where we're at right now. So we're just a little bit low, and that kind of goes based on our high gauge. We're just a little bit low. So I think we're looking pretty good. So we can just add just a little bit. I'll show you how you do that. The first thing you're going to do is you've got this tank hooked up to here, and the first thing you got to do is get the air out of this line. So what you do is you take this little cap off of here, and you'll see that you'll have a little Schrader valve right here. And what you're going to do is you're just going to push that until you see that gas kind of squirt out just a little bit. that means that there's no air in the line and we're ready to actually add Freon. Now, the thing that we need to keep in mind is this is pretty high pressure too, and so it goes in really fast. And so we just want to turn this, open this valve just for a second and close it, for a second and close it. And each time we do that, we want to let it adjust. You'll see the needle flip up and then come back down. And so we want to just put just a little bit into there and then watch that needle come back down and see kind of where it's at. So we're going to do that. We're currently at so we're currently at 134. Okay, here we go. We're going to open it up. You can see how that jumps up and then comes back down a little bit. So we've actually moved up to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now, it's probably actually better, you know, it's a table, so it's got a little bit of variance in there. It's better to be a little bit lower than too high of a pressure. So you don't want to overfill it, because then you get into the issues of having to let pressure off, which requires you to recapture it. I mean, they got all this, you know, things that they actually do that an HVAC guy does, and you don't want to get into that if you don't have to. And you definitely don't want to end up having to call a service tech to come out and do this when this was just a simple job. So we want to keep it simple. We'll just keep doing just a little bit here until we get about where we want to be. All right, we are at the pressure that we wanted now. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and disconnect the gauges. So these are closed. Everything's closed here, so we're good. We're going to go ahead and take this off. Again, we're going to lose just a little bit of Freon refrigerant as we take that off, but we'll try to minimize that the best we can. So that wasn't too bad. Now the next thing that we have to do is we're going to turn this tank back over, we're going to shut it off, and we're going to just take this off right here. And as we do that, we'll lose the pressure that's still in this line right here. So okay, so a lot more pressure on this line than the other one. So anyway, so that's it. We're done there. So that finishes everything, and so that completes our little project here. Hopefully this has been of help to you, and it'll, you know, give you something to do. These gauges are less than 50 bucks, you know, and you can buy this refrigerant at different sizes, so it makes the job pretty cheap. And you know, if you have a service call, the guy I talked to charged $80 to come out, plus they charge so much for each pound of refrigerant that they use, and plus their time. So it does get pretty expensive, and so if you can do this yourself, then you save a little bit of money. So that's kind of how we roll in this life. So anyway, so thanks for watching. Hopefully you got something out of this, and again, we're going to be doing a bunch of other things as time goes on. So if you can, subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. That always helps us for getting other people to watch, or at least share it with your friends and things. So anyway, with that said, I'll just say we hope that we'll see you down the road somewhere, and if not, then maybe you'll be on our next video. So take care.